What's up, friends? Welcome into this special playoff game preview of Tables, Tailgates, and Top Loaders. So happy to have you all aboard for this episode. I am your host, TB. Thank you so very much for stopping in and checking out this special playoff edition. We have a lot to get to, so let's dive right into this divisional round playoff game preview. We have Bills at Broncos coming at you Saturday, January 17th at 4:30 in the afternoon, and that's Eastern time from Empower Field in Denver, Colorado. We always start these game previews with news and notes, so we'll start right in. There are 8 teams left. If this were the NCAA tournament, we are down to the Elite 8. Now, I like to take a look at the whole field. Are any of these remaining teams actually elite? I would say there are pieces of each team that are elite, but I'm not so sure. Not quite sure there's an elite team left in the remaining 8 NFL teams. The Texans defense, I would say that's elite. Josh Allen, of course, elite. The Rams offense, probably elite. Mike Vrabel's glare, yep, that's elite too. So you get the point. There's elite pieces of each team, but I'm not sure we have one team that stands out heads and shoulders above the rest. But you get my point. Things are getting exciting. Pittsburgh and Carolina, they have been bounced just as we all expected. The pretenders are the Chargers. The pretenders are the Jags. They have hit the road, and we are left with, I would say, 8 contenders. They have entered the arena, and we should be good for a wild weekend of football. So let's keep with the number theme for a minute. And that number that I want to focus on is the number 3, because as of Tuesday afternoon, the Bills had 3 active wide receivers on the team after losing both Tyrell Shavers and Gabe Davis to torn ACLs in that Jags game. I was pretty sad to see the Gabe Davis injury. You didn't know what was going on with Tyrell Shavers until, a day or two later. I think they announced it Tuesday, but it's unreal. It's pretty sad. The wide receiver room absolutely decimated. Tyrell Shavers, can we talk about him for a second? Because he got hurt in the first half. He went to the locker room, and he came back out, and he played the second half of that Jacksonville game on a torn ACL. Are you serious? How is this even possible? This dude is a freaking beast. I wish these guys the absolute best, man. Shavers and Davis, they have done a lot of the dirty work, and their efforts and their contributions to this team are going to be missed severely. So I wish them both a speedy recovery. But yeah, we're down to 3. We were down to 3 on Tuesday afternoon. Khalil Shakir, Brandon Cooks, who's only been on the team for approximately 6 weeks, and then Mr. Inactive himself, Keon Coleman. Now, could the NFL writers possibly come up with a better story than the one that is surrounding Keon Coleman and this game on Saturday? He has a chance to have the Hollywood redemption story for the ages if he comes out and goes crazy against these Denver Broncos. So in response to the depleted wide receiver room, the Bills have signed Christian Wilkerson to their practice squad. Now, if you believe in preseason success, Wilkerson led the Bills in preseason receptions, catching 7 of 9 targets. Yeah, he caught 7 whole balls in the preseason for 91 yards. And he made a strong case for actually having a roster spot coming out of training camp, but ultimately he was passed over. But now he has a chance to potentially be called up to the main squad for the game. Curtis Samuel, has anyone heard that name? Well, he's back, baby. And for some reason, I think I said on an earlier podcast, I thought that he was released. I got this totally wrong. As it turns out, he was placed on IR for most of the season. Well, the Bills opened up his 21-day practice window, and if I'm a betting man, I think he's going to be active. I think he's going to be ready to suit up come Saturday, because why not? If you remember the playoff game last year against these very same Denver Broncos, he had a pretty good game, catching 3 passes for 68 yards, including a 55-yard tutty to put the game completely out of reach. I think the Bills, if I remember correctly, that score 31-7. So yeah, let's try to replicate that feat. Curtis Samuel, all eyes are on you. What else we have for news and notes? Everyone's favorite OC, everyone's favorite offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. He has now interviewed for 2 open head coaching positions. I think he has a third on the docket, because I think there's another team I thought was interested, but we shall see. But the Ravens and the Dolphins, he's interviewed for both of these openings, and I would love to see the Dolphins sign Joe and then stick with Tua, because they would end up in the exact same place they are now, which is 3rd in the division and completely irrelevant. So let's turn our attention to the injuries for the Bills. Buckle up, Mafia. This is going to take a few minutes. Let's start with some good. So kicker, Matt Prater, 42-year-old hero from last week, kicking a 50-yarder and a 47-yarder. He was back practicing on the field this week. He should be good to go out in Mile High against the Denver Broncos. Ed Oliver, this is the name to watch. This is the name to circle and put some stars next to. His 21-day practice window has been opened. He is back on the practice field. Now, whether he gets the nod and suits up Sunday, that's probably a closer game time decision, but what a boost to the D-line this would be if Oliver can go. Unfortunately, we have to turn our attention to those who are not going to be playing, and that is Jordan Poyer dealing with his quad. He has been designated week to week, which means he is a no-go for Saturday. This is a tough one because Jordan Hancock came in his absence and got kind of torched all over the field. The Broncos wide receiver room, while not as good as the Jaguars, he's still going to be at a disadvantage. So we'll see if Hancock gets the starting nod at safety for the Bills or who they decide to turn to. Max Hairston, he has also been ruled out for the second week in a row with his knee injury, and this just sucks because I would have really liked to have that extra speed element in the secondary. But what else we got? Running back Ty Johnson. This is a worrisome spot for me. I think Ty Johnson will be huge in this game. Involving the running backs in the passing game, I think would be instrumental coming up on Saturday afternoon, but he did not practice, and we shall see whether he gets the good to go for Saturday. Terrell Bernard, he was back practicing in a limited basis with his calf injury. I'm fine with Shaq Thompson. So if Terrell Bernard lines up as your reserve linebacker, I have no issue with that. I just don't want him starting this game. AJ Epinesa was dealing with a neck injury. He was limited. Dalton Kincaid, stop me if you've heard this one before. He was also limited. Matt Milano limited with an ankle. Greg Rousseau was limited with a back. And the newest one, Shaq Thompson, was dealing with some sort of neck injury. He was also limited. So there's a lot of Bills that could go either way, but hopefully most of these guys are ready to go outside of Jordan Poyer and Max Hairston. On the Broncos side, they look to be getting back linebacker Dre Greenlaw. He was dealing with a hamstring, missed some games, and he should be a positive impact on the middle side of their defense. But that's the benefit to having a bye week. The Broncos are looking fairly healthy coming into this divisional playoff game with the Bills. X factors. Let's turn our attention to X factors to the game. In my opinion, Bills need to have defensive success on early downs. The Broncos have trouble sustaining drives. They go 3 and out nearly 38% of the time, which around the league, that's pretty bad. I think that puts them in the bottom third of the league. If the Bills can get them to third and longs, it'll be very tough for this offense, for this Broncos offense to score. And speaking of scoring, they are only averaging 23.6 points a game during the season. Folks, that is not good. So we worried about the Jags. The Jags are a much more potent offensive team than this Broncos team, and the Bills did well to limit their success. So there's nothing on this offense that screams problem to me. Cortland Sutton is good. I don't think he is an off-the-chart, holy cow, ridiculous, we need to rotate our defense to take care of him every play sort of guy, but I think he's good. He's fine. Troy Franklin, again, he's fine. He's their deep threat. He burned us. I believe it was Troy Franklin that caught the bomb for their only touchdown last playoff game. But again, he's fine. He's not a holy cow, we got to lose sleep over this guy. Marvin Mims Jr., he's fine, but whatever. I had much more fear over the Jags wide receiver room than I do this Broncos team. Now, they do have speed on the offensive side of the ball. I think speed-wise, they have a lot more speed than the Jags. I fully expect them to try to lean into this, take advantage of some of the speed mismatches, but historically, the Bills have usually been able to contain speed factors pretty well. What other X factors do we have? Protect Josh Allen at all costs. The Broncos, they're coming after him. They're going to pin their ears back, and they're going to try to knock him out of the game if I'm a betting man. The Broncos had the most sacks of any team in the league, 68 sacks on the year. So they can definitely get after the quarterback. The O-line, y'all need to be ready to go. Spencer Brown, Osiris Torrance, Deion Dawkins, y'all, it's time to go. After a physical game against the Jags, this is the time for the O-line to step up, take some of the heat off Allen. I don't think he's going to have time for long pass plays to develop, and he's going to need to be quick on his routes, on his reads, get the ball out. Ty Johnson, this is what we talked about earlier. I hope he's active. I hope he's ready to go. cross your fingers because him playing could be a huge factor in the passing game. What else? This also bodes well for our tight ends. Look, I've talked about Dalton Kincaid so many times, and maybe I need to back off that. So maybe I shouldn't ask for a big Dalton Kincaid game, but I think that the X factor portion is going to be focused on the tight ends completely. So let's just ask for a big day from the tight end room. Whoever wants to step up, I don't care. Now's the time to shine. Dawson Knox, bring back that new dad energy. Jackson Hawes, this is a big stage. It's playoff time. Go make a big play for us. James Cook, so last week he was not that great, and I think that was a credit to the Jags defensive front, to their front seven. They are pretty good against the run, and he was significantly slowed by that Jags defense last week. And this Broncos defense, it's definitely no slouch either, but the key to success against the Broncos is literally going right at the middle of their defensive line, and I think that is somewhere where we can thrive in this game. So this could turn into what you call a good old lunch pail game, similar to the way we played against the Steelers. If you remember that game, Cook had 32 carries and 144 yards on the ground. So the O-line literally dominated that game. The Bills controlled the ball. They ran the clock for almost 42 minutes of playtime in that game, and with the inconsistencies of this Broncos offense, I could see the Bills trying to replicate that Steelers game from earlier in the season. Another X factor, Keon Coleman. It is time to shine, my friend. We talked about this earlier. Time to show that your boy TB didn't waste time putting together a rather significant collection of Keon Coleman football cards. As I said, he could literally rewrite the ending to his Bills story with a banger of the game here on the road in a do-or-die divisional playoff game against the Broncos. He will have to be an absolute dog out there. We lost Davis, we lost Shavers, two stud blocking specialists, especially in the run game, and that is huge. But Keon is, to his credit, he's a very good blocking wide receiver, and now he needs to be great. He needs to stay locked in. He needs to stay invested for the whole game. He needs to go show the world on Saturday afternoon in Denver why the Buffalo Bills invested such a high draft pick in him. Please make it happen, Keon. It is time to shine. Defensively, I think what they need to do is confuse Bo Nix. They are great. The Bills are great at making young, inexperienced quarterbacks look bad. I don't think he is fantastic. I heard one commentator say that Bo Nix is really, really good. I don't think he's really good. I think he's okay. I think he's average at best. And I think this is where McDermott shines. Historically, he makes these young, inexperienced quarterbacks look pretty rough. So mix up the coverages, keep him guessing, force him into making mistakes. I'm not convinced he's the right guy to win under the pressure of this type of game. So let's keep adding on and make him really have to think his way through this game. Stress meter, I talk about this every game. After the stress of last week, I will admit the stress meter is pretty tame for this week. I will probably have it fire way up as we get closer to 4:30 on Saturday. But looking into this, preparing for this game preview, I got to tell you, Mafia, I'm sitting right around a 5 because, yes, there are factors out there that could potentially get me fired up and push that meter to 8, 9, whatever, but I keep pushing back against it. Yes, I know the Bills are beat up. Yes, I know we have to travel west in a hostile crowd, which is much worse than the Jacksonville crowd, mind you, because there are a ton of Bills fans there. I don't think there's going to be a ton of Bills fans out in Denver. And yes, I know it's a short week. Yes, I know Denver's coming off the bye week. So you see my point. You see where I'm getting at. I think it's easy to stack up all these negatives against the Bills, but having said all that, I just can't seem to get worked up about this game and stressed out about this game because I said last week before the wildcard preview, I said the Jags matchup was going to be the toughest of the AFC side of this bracket, and I'm standing by it. I said whoever won that game, Bills versus Jags, is going to go on and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, which leads me right into my game prediction. So here we go, Mafia. The Bills are favored by 1.5 points on the road in Empower Field in Mile High, which is a pretty dumb stadium name, by the way, from Denver, Colorado, this Saturday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the forecast for this game, it's looking like 43 degrees, low 40s, no snow, which for Denver in January, Look, folks, you cannot get much better than that. The Bills will be rocking the same jerseys as last week, so white jersey, blue pants, white helmet as the visiting team. This is a winning combo. I love it. So what's the call? This Denver team reminds me of the year the Tennessee Titans got the number 1 seed. If you remember this, the Titans kind of lucked themselves into it. They had a very similar looking year to this Denver Broncos team, and then in the divisional round, they lost to Cincinnati and only managed to score a whopping 16 points against the Bengals. And that's exactly how I'm viewing this Broncos team. I don't think their offense can stay on the field. I'll even throw the Broncos a few more points because I still think they lucked into this number 1 seed and were gifted this first round bye. Well, sorry to say, Broncos, your luck has run out. I think there's too much experience, too much drive from Josh Allen and this Buffalo Bills team. I think they go into Denver with all the check marks, all the odds stacked against them. I think they pull out the victory 27-18, and I think the Bills move on to the AFC Championship. So there you go, folks. Thanks for tuning into the 3Ts. Thanks for listening to this divisional round game preview. Enjoy the game on Saturday afternoon, and as always, go Bills. So until next time, whether it's ripping packs, breaking tables, or dropping elbows, keep doing what you love. And as always, go Bills.